Well, hello there to everybody from Cheshire Matters. And I'm here with that great man, that man they call Stats, the man with all the facts. And he's also the fact checker. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be looking at me.
Found some.
Found some? You mean one? You found one altogether. Right.
Found some there.
We're here with Send Accountability at CWaC SEND Accountability. And we've got Ali in the house. Say hello, Ali.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Okay, we have Kim.
Hi.
Oh, there we go. That's very bright. Very bright. Sam.
Hi.
Okay, get a bit closer to your mic, Sam. We'd like to hear your voice. Go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. And Marie.
Hello.
Hello. So when you want to say things, just say it. Don't worry about the edit. Don't worry about anything. I'm just going to leave it in. Okay, well, as I say, Mark's going to be asking some of the questions here. So, Mark, take it away.
Welcome to Cheshire Matters. It's nice to see you all.
Thanks for having us.
Well, obviously, we did a podcast a while back, didn't we? And we went through all the problems. But just for anyone who hasn't listened to that podcast, just give us a quick recap of the situation with the CWaC SEND team.
Certainly. So we are here as a group of parents who are unhappy with how we've been treated by the SEND team within the local authority. So we've come together to express the experiences of our families and families within our community and to demand better from the local authority. So we staged a protest, which Cheshire Matters kindly covered. And we are part of ongoing conversations and ongoing negotiations to ensure that the SEND team is fit for purpose, ultimately.
Why do you have to have an ongoing conversation and a negotiation? I mean, why do you have to go through that?
It's a difficult one because obviously one of the main cruxes of our campaign have been to make people aware of exactly what's going on and the experience of families. And at no point has anyone fallen off their chair in surprise when we've stated what the experience of families are. So everyone seems to be telling us that they are aware of the problems historically and currently. However, nailing down positive change and a time frame for positive change seems to be very much an ongoing journey.
Tell us about how you actually all got together. How did this come about? Because it seems to have snowballed, doesn't it? In a few months. So would anyone like to answer that one?
So it all started from lots of us were going through the school selection process for our kids with special educational needs and wanting them to get places in specialist schools. So I think in January I posted a post on a Facebook group that I knew had lots of SEND parents on saying, you know, does anybody want to be part of a WhatsApp group where we can show support, share information and be there for each other through this process. And that WhatsApp group kind of grew to about 25 people. Then come sort of January, February time when lots of parents were having these decisions being made about their children, sometimes unlawful, sometimes unfair, sometimes incorrect. This was popping up on our WhatsApp group every day and it was constant and being completely ignored by the SEND team the majority of the time. Inconsistent decision making was happening and with no rationale or reasoning behind it. Children were being placed in schools that couldn't meet their child's needs. And so Ali one day said, you know what, should we stage a protest? And I think it was possibly maybe a slightly offhanded comment at the time, to which everyone said yes. Then another WhatsApp group was formed and all of a sudden it spiraled into this huge campaign and movement that has become CWaC SEND Accountability.
Were you surprised at the scale of the problem? Because I'll be honest, I am.
Being in it, I wasn't surprised because I've been through it and I have a family member that went through it maybe 10 years ago, so I knew it was going to be a battle. I was surprised at how much of a battle it was. And yeah, maybe I am surprised still at how widespread the problem is, that everybody that goes through this process has the same problems, goes through the same mental health crisis and
the same issues.
The same issues and it's present in every single family that I meet. Yes, maybe that is a surprise.
Yeah, so you mentioned the protest. Sam, would you like to tell us about the protest?
Yeah, so...
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think It was lovely to see so many families come together and be able to share their experiences and have their experiences that they'd had with the SEND team validated. I think sometimes when you're in the process, you can often feel quite isolated and feel like you don't have anybody that understands and you're the only person going through this. And I think actually the protest was, especially for me, a point where I realised that I wasn't in this alone and I did have the support of other local families that understood everything that I was going through.
I was actually quite shocked. We did some interviews, didn't we, John? And I was just blown away by some of the things that they're going through.
I also had some conversations with people on the side that were attending, and I wasn't happy about what I actually heard from there. And it kind of makes me feel that for something as emotional and something as sensitive as this subject, that really you haven't been dealt with since 2010 in certain cases. That was like, to me, that was like, wow, why would a council that is legally liable to do these things not actually attend to them? Marie, do you want to give a comment on that?
I think a lot of the time they don't see our children and young people, like they don't actually come out and meet them. So to them, it's just a piece of paper. It's just a number on the screen. They're not real people. They don't see the effect that all the decisions that they make have on our children and young people and on our families. So I think they tend to blame the national crisis rather than looking locally as well. There are obvious things that they can do at a local level rather than just blaming the national crisis. But that just seems to be the overarching excuse for everything. There's a national crisis, the government haven't funded it properly, and so we'll just ignore it at a local level.
Look, I know it's a job for some people, but when children are involved, it's a little bit more serious than that. So you guys have put together a document, the Progress for Meaningful Change, is that correct?
Yeah.
Would anyone like to tell us about that and how it's going? Because I believe you gave it to the council.
We did. So just to give you context, this is a document that we call the Meaningful Change document. It's available on our Facebook page if anyone wants to have a look at it. It is essentially a document where we've come up with a list of things that we feel would implement systemic change within the SEND team. But we have also been mindful that obviously there are issues with budget and resources. So we've not asked for something like extra schools, even though, of course, that's something that our community needs. It's things like communication on a very tangible level, publishing details of panels so we know when decisions are being made about our children and young people. It's about essentially how the whole process is managed and how we can promote transparency and co-production and also lawful behaviour, essentially. And we came up with that in response to the experiences that families were approaching us with. So it's very much rooted in the current experience of dealing with the SEND team. So we came up with that and we originally provided it to Councillor Adam Langan and also Councillor Louise Gittins. We were told that that would be brought to a SEND implementation board that then got pushed back, that was then called something else. And it was a bit difficult to keep track of what was going on with the document. So we had a roundtable meeting with representatives from the local authority, so Debbie Edwards and Helen Brackenbury, as well as Councillor Adam Langan, Councillor Louise Gittins, and representatives from the Parent Carer Forum. And the purpose of that meeting was to go through our meaningful change document, sort of point by point, and talk about what can practically be implemented and what is needed practically to implement these things. We were left waiting 3 weeks to receive the minutes from that meeting. And obviously we've got parents and families that are in crisis right now. So 3 weeks, 3 weeks is a child out of education for an additional 3 weeks, or parents waiting without clarity and answers for another 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a long time when you're a family in crisis.
Well, this is a bit of an issue because parents have got children expecting to go to schools in September.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all up in the air how they meant to make plans.
That's it. We've got a family within our organising committee. Her child is due to start reception in September. She is appealing the decision as she doesn't feel it's an appropriate educational setting for her son. And they've been given a tribunal date, but the tribunal date isn't until September. So how is her family supposed to maintain their employment commitments as well as other caring commitments when you've got a child with no plan as to where they're going?
So would you say that CWaC are not the most efficient of organisations where these issues are concerned?
We have not seen action on a time frame that we feel is fitting for the gravity of the issues that we're presenting to the local authority.
Okay. And how do you feel about that, Kim?
Yeah, I think exactly the same. We first raised these issues and created our group mid-March. And we are nearly mid-June, 3 months later, and there's been no tangible change. I think that's fair to say, that noticeable, nothing properly implemented, properly documented. 3 months. I mean...
No good.
I don't think that's good enough.
Okay. Now, do you people feel that you should be taking a harder edge regarding these people?
It's hard to answer that question because as a group, we are complaining about a lack of co-production and transparency. And so we want to be modelling that co-production and what meaningfully working together looks like. And so it is hard, although we have the tools at our disposal, we are hesitant to press any type of nuclear button because we do want to see parents and the local authority and the SEND team all working together. So where is that line? I don't know. We're yet to find it.
My concern is the same people who are responsible for the failures being in control of the meaningful change. I'm not optimistic that's gonna happen.
I think something that came up at full council quite a lot was this phrase about people marking their own homework. And that is why we're trying to nail down timeframes and people responsible for certain actions so that we can act as a sort of external agency that enforces accountability. Because I think without that, how do we actually know? And how do we actually know that that change is effective and that it's actually affecting the experience of families, which is what matters, isn't it? If you're not seeing change at that level.
Yeah. There's so many failures across the nation that we're seeing all the time, and there's never any accountability. Nothing ever gets fixed, and it never gets better. I hope this is going to be different. So tell us about the council meeting. So how did that go? Well,
let's hear from Sam, because we haven't heard very much from Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, it was really good. I think it was nice to see that so many people were receptive to us and actually were open to listening to what we were about, and they could understand our personal struggles. And actually a lot of people were supportive and on board with what our campaign is standing for and what we wanted.
I did notice that the room in general seems to be in consensus that something needed to be done. Again, the problem with politics is the fighting each other.
It's political.
And it drags it out and it extends the process, which is a shame.
I think we've been emailing councillors' newsletters, personal emails, not to personal email addresses, but, we've been emailing councillors saying, we are here, these are our problems, read our mission statement, read our meaningful change document, read our newsletter. And to a lot of those councillors we've never heard anything from, but actually at the council meeting we turned up and everyone knew exactly who we were, sort of spoke in support of us, and were quick to come up and say how much they support the cause directly to us. And so that to us was a surprise, because actually we haven't felt... Before then, we hadn't felt that we had that support from individual councillors.
Do you feel the same, Marie?
I wasn't actually present at the council meeting, unfortunately.
You weren't there?
No, I couldn't be.
Where were you?
At home caring for my children.
I just wanted to get that in.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get that in.
Because obviously we all have caring responsibilities with our children, so we can't all be there at all times. But seeing what these ladies next to me did, it was amazing. It was incredible. They really represented our community really well.
They did.
And I'm glad that the message that we've been trying to get out there has definitely been heard by the councillors. And obviously we've got this motion now for inclusive borough, but we just hope to see that real change in real time. We don't want it, 5 years down the line. We need it now.
Yeah, that was my next question. So I saw some of your speeches at the meeting, and they were very emotional.
They were.
They really hit home.
They were good.
Point.
They were good. Very good.
But what was the outcome? What did you get from the council from this meeting?
So
what's the next step of action?
What we wanted to do by speaking at the council was to show the reality of the human experience, that actually we're not just angry parents.
I think you nailed that one. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do, difficult logistically, because we have disabled children at home and getting out of bedtime is never easy. Absolutely. But I think we needed to show that actually, you know, the reality of the trauma, and I think people were very responsive to that. So there was a last minute amendment to the full council agenda, which was championed by the Conservatives, which was to...
What?
Said without comment, which was to conduct an immediate LGA peer review of the SEND team. And a sort of conversation was had around that. And it wasn't supported. And I think we got to really see politics in action in a way that we haven't quite, in terms of how people voted within their parties. It was very illuminating as people who are quite politically ignorant. And then a motion on the floor by Councillor Beecham was proposed, whereby a commitment was made to conduct the LGA peer review within an 18-month time period, but that in the meantime, a draft action plan would be compiled that would incorporate our meaningful change document and also things like recommendations from the Parent Carer Forum survey. That would then go to a scrutiny committee, and a conversation would then be had where parents would be invited to come and influence, that's the word, influence this final draft. So we were like, great, in terms of being involved in shaping change that's meaningful for our families, this is exactly what we want, with the overarching commitment of a peer review within 18 months, so that there is a time frame exists within that. However, if I can just take us on a very brief tangent, this scrutiny committee, whereby this draft action plan was meant to be discussed, was due to happen in June. However, we then had the general election announced, whereby the scrutiny committee was cancelled, which we found out live on Radio Northwich by Councillor Adrian Waddle. We weren't informed of this directly by anyone sort of handling our campaign situation. So we have since asked Councillor Louise Gittins when things will be arranged, because we need to make childcare arrangements. You know, we need notice, and we need to ensure that our campaign is represented, because that's happening because of us. And we need to ensure that our voices are front and centre of those conversations. We have asked Councillor Gittins 8 times when this scrutiny committee has been rearranged.
Wow. Now, Can I just chime in 1 second? During the council meeting, obviously Louise said with 18 months is too long for this peer review. We know what the problems are. We need to act now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was going to be my next question. What action have they taken then?
It's obvious. Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. And now the general election has been called. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter what the fights are in the general election. The council is being controlled by the Labour-controlled council under Louise Gittins. So for them to say that they cannot action things straight away is rubbish, because the budgets have already been set. So quite simply, you should actually press harder and say, let's get on with the job, please.
I think this is the question we ask ourselves on a daily basis is, can we trust Adam Langan and Louise Gittins that things are going on in the background, but they're just not keeping us abreast of things? Or is nothing happening? We don't know. We are asking continuously what is happening, what are the timeframes, and we're not getting answers.
The only thing that you can trust, you can see, are actions. Actions speak louder than words. Now, the fact that they are delaying is purely a political exercise, because they're waiting for the new government to come in and to see what's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, they have the budgets already set, and they won't be doing anything with those budgets until next year. So your concern is, you want it sorted now.
I don't even think it's about want, it's about necessity for those families that are in crisis right now. I mean, I'm thinking families like Sam's and Marie's, that actually to have meaningful change postponed further for political reasons that we don't fully understand, because we're too concerned advocating for our children, and that's our political agenda, to now suddenly be back in purgatory is very disheartening.
See, I think this is an overreach of PERDA. I actually think they can get this. They can start the process to get this fixed. It's just another excuse, to be honest.
We have,
in my opinion,
had assurances from Councillor Langan that things will still continue, but we don't know what those things are. They've not been communicated.
They could just update you, couldn't they? Very easily.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why are they not? Is the key thing.
Good question. Why?
And why we are asking for co-production, we are asking for transparency from the SEND team. If that's not happening from the people that are in charge of the SEND team, why are we surprised that that's filtering down?
This is why I'm worried.
Yeah.
Even when this gets implemented, if the same people are in charge,
you're not going to get the answers.
You're not going to get the result you want.
Quick straw poll. Amongst you ladies present today, how many of you would agree that you're extremely unhappy with the situation at present?
Which situation? The SEND team?
Everything. I mean,
the fact that we are still here.
Just hands up.
I am unhappy. I'm extremely unhappy.
There you go. That's everybody. That's including Mark, and that's also including me with both hands up. So you're unhappy. So in actual fact, I think, in my opinion, that you're going to actually have to escalate this, because you're not the only people in the country that are suffering.
We're not the only people. And this brings us back to this reoccurring trope about a national issue. However, we do have statistics that show that the situation in Cheshire West and Chester is considerably worse than sort of boroughs elsewhere. So yes, there is a context of a national issue that is feeding into localised issues which are totally preventable, and we can implement change on a local level and not fob it off as a national crisis.
See, there's things locally here. There's people who are not answering emails and phone calls.
How is that a national
That's nothing
issue?
to do with national. That is a personal choice from those people just to not bother replying.
But I think that's a cultural. To bring it back to what Marie said earlier, I think there is a national crisis. Yes, there is a national difficulty to place every child in an appropriate provision, of course. However, I think what this is fed into is an increasing detachment from the families that they work with. So it is actually probably easier to not respond to emails because you can't give a family appropriate answers.
Ali, that's quite damning. That statement is quite damning, really.
But actually, then the reality of it is that then extends to education, health, and care plans, which we're constantly talking about, which is this legal document that your child requires if any sort of accessibility provisions are needed for them to access education. This really important legal document, and we've got EHCPs where children's names are incorrect, their pronouns are incorrect, they're full of typos, they're copied and pasted from other documents, which actually shows that increasing detachment from the reality of the disabled children and young people that are central to this. And that's a cultural issue.
One last question. Has anyone actually been reprimanded for anything what's gone on yet?
We do know of one.
Because I know I've
the looks.
No, because I've
the
seen,
looks I'm seeing.
No, but if it doesn't happen, nothing's going to change, because I saw someone has actually put in formal complaints now about somebody. I saw that on your website. Is that correct?
Loads of us have put in formal
there's
complaints.
There's loads of
hundreds,
complaints. Hundreds
thousands.
of complaints.
Yeah.
And no one's been reprimanded for anything.
What?
Nothing's
One
changed.
person may have been.
Sam, do you want to...
So in my case, we were dealing with the former tribunal officer who was... She was instructed to work collaboratively with us to reach the right outcome. And instead of doing that, she didn't reply to emails. She didn't answer phone calls. She denied having really important conversations with my son's school class teacher in Senko. She made inappropriate comments regarding my parenting when I actually did get to have a conversation with her. And I wasn't just corresponding with her, I was CCing in, SEND managers and important people within the local authority, and was being completely ignored. And it's recently come to light that actually she was under investigation and she was removed from the LA. And where I've had it, I submitted a formal complaint, and it was recognised that these things were happening, but there was no apology. There has been no apology that actually...
So nobody on behalf of the council has apologised for the actions of this person that is now gone?
No. And because of this, we're now in a position where, again, my son is in a mainstream school that are stating they can't meet need. We have specialist schools that his reports clearly state that he needs to access, that are saying they can meet need, but the problem is they're now full. Well, because of these unlawful delays that this lady caused, we weren't fairly in a consultation phase with all my son's peers. So now we're left, the likelihood is we're going to have to head to a tribunal, which means he's now going to be spending more months in a school that's causing him trauma.
Now, Cheshire Matters is a digital pub. So I'm going to call time on that because I'm actually very, very saddened by what I've heard. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm a little bit speechless sometimes. Not often that happens, but
honestly, I have to say that I'm flabbergasted at some of the statements that I've heard today. Now, the thing is, number one, just to give you a light-hearted interjection, I wish you were all my mother. Without a shadow of a doubt, because to have all of you fighting in the way that you are is just a wonderful thing. And it's a wonderful thing for your children. And your families are very, very lucky. And everybody that's part of your team, keep pushing. We know that we're going to actually try as much as we can to get these points escalated from our point of view. Okay, Mark?
yeah, you're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And everyone should be really proud of themselves.
Absolutely.
Don't
Thank
give
you.
up. And this is your chance now to plug anything you want, any events.
Anything that you
need.
want to do.
This is your time.
Get it out there.
Fire away.
Get it out.
I would just say to please keep following us on social media. We've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page. This isn't just a protest and we're disappearing. We are here for the long haul now. We're not going anywhere. We will be campaigning for change and accountability in whatever way is necessary over whatever time period it takes. So don't forget about us. Keep supporting us. But also I would say, for families that are in the situation right now, to reach out to us just by virtue of having friendly faces to be alongside you on this journey, to understand your rights as a family. So get familiar with the SEND Code of Practice, make formal complaints when you see unlawful behaviour, and teach yourself SEND law would be my advice.
What about you, Kim?
Exactly what Ali said. I couldn't put it better myself.
There you go. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think the same. Just ask lots of questions, make yourself familiar with the legalities around this process, and don't give up.
And Emma Marie?
I think just want to reiterate, obviously, what everybody else has said about SEND law and code of practice and all that stuff. But also thank you to everybody as well who supported us along the way. We really appreciate it.
Well, I have to say, we've come to the end of the programme. And what I would like to ask, and I'm sure that Mark would agree with me, is can we come back to you to find out about any progress and get you all back in and have a chat about it? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's a big yes from Ali, a big yes from Kim, a big yes from Sam and Marie, Emma.
Whatever I am, yes.
She'll answer to anything.
I do, actually, to be honest.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah,
and thank you,
very
Mark,
much.
for the way that you hosted that.
That's all right.
The questions you
Thanks
did
for
were
pressing your
brilliant.
buttons there.
Oh,
Yeah, very
I
smooth.
can definitely press buttons. There's no two ways about that.
Yes, you can.